Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Number to call, 888-589-8840. You know, the economy under Obama is in such bad shape now that in order to get a job as a cashier at McDonald's, you have to have a bachelor's degree. I mean, that's how severe the competition is for jobs. A job opening, this is from the Examiner, Washington Examiner, a job opening at a Massachusetts McDonald's restaurant for a full-time cashier requires 1 to 2 years experience and a bachelor's degree. Now realize this is where a lot of teenagers get their first job. This is where they get started in the workplace. This is where they learn skills about customer relations and working hard and showing up on time and all that kind of thing. And now jobs are so scarce, there are 4 million fewer people working today than when President Obama took office. 4 million fewer people working today. There were 146 million people working when Obama took office. There are 142 million people working today. 4 million fewer people working than when President Obama took office. And so it's the little guy that gets hurt. That's my point. It's the little guy that gets the shaft here. Socialist policies always hurt the little guy. They're the ones that say, hey, we're out for the little guy. We're here to help the little guy. It's the little guy that's getting the shaft. And it's minorities that are getting the shaft. The unemployment rate among blacks is twice as high as it is among whites. And among black teenagers, you got an unemployment rate running close to 50%. Now, here's another piece before we go back to the phones, 888-589-8840. Again, we've talked about women in the military. I think it's a bad idea to begin with. I mean, other than in support role, but women in uniform I think is a bad idea. And women in infantry I think is an impossibility unless we so lower the standards that it's going to affect military readiness. Here's an example, Washington Free Beacon. The only 2 women to participate in the Marine Corps Infantry Officer course failed ongoing tests to determine which infantry position should be available to women, according to the Marine Corps Times. The women failed the introductory combat endurance test, a punishing test of physical strength and endurance, officials at Marine Corps headquarters said Tuesday. Latest class began March 28 at Quantico with 110 lieutenants participating. 96 men passed the initial endurance test, 12 men and 2 women. The only female Marines taking part failed. And remember, you had 2 of them try it in September, and they washed out, one of them on the very first day and one shortly thereafter because of an injury. Well, let's grab a phone call or two. Let's go to Linda, Houston, Texas. Linda, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure how to put this into words. The thought is exposing Obama's clip that you played about him being under the same standards as far as being into office under we vote him in. I mean, he wants Americans to be forthright and transparent with what we own for gun control. Not that we would ever know the truth, but, I mean, the talk of stockpiling guns, I mean, I know that military has to have secrets to protect our security, but I think making the public feel like that he doesn't expose, if he wants people to feel comfortable with him, believe in him, I mean, expose what you have. Why are you stockpiling guns, but yet we're not supposed to even own one?
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's interesting, you know, you think about, you know, I mean, President Obama's out there saying, hey, if I lived in Iowa, I'd want to have some guns, plural, for protection. And realize when he tries to disarm us, he tries to keep us from getting guns. This is a guy that travels with a Secret Service detail. They sent Secret Service with his daughters out to Idaho to ski and the Bahamas to that posh resort. You got Secret Service traveling with Joe Biden. They're running up $1 million in hotel bills in Europe, $369,000 for limo bills for Joe Biden to go over to Europe and to do who knows what. And they travel everywhere they go with armed security. In fact, I saw a picture last night of Piers Morgan. James O'Keefe took this picture. Piers Morgan, he's the guy that's on, is he CNN or is he MSNBC? Somebody help me on that. Anyway, Piers Morgan has been he's basically in last place. He's completely in the tank in his ratings. He's been trying to dig out of the cellar by being the gun guy. And he's all for gun control. Too many guns in America. Guns are bad. We got to keep guns out of the hands of people. He's got signs posted all around the perimeter of his property here in America talking about armed security. That if you trespass, you are going to be met by somebody with a gun. So the hypocrisy here is pretty staggering. Let's go to Bill in Caldwell, Texas. Bill, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Thank you, sir. It's just I have a concern over this from the beginning. All the big push for picking up all the assault weapons, so-called, and the magazines, and now Reed takes this portion out, and there's not a lot of concern over the leftover, but yet now is the push for the registration. And what is bothering me is like Obama said, he is not out to take our guns. He wants to get them registered and get this treaty done as quick as possible, and then he can turn all the registration over to the UN and let them worry about taking our guns.
Well, unfortunately, I think that UN treaty is going to be DOA in the United States Senate. That's, James Inhofe got 53 votes for a bill that would to oppose any approval of a UN treaty on arms, and it takes 2/3 of a vote to confirm a treaty. So,
yes, sir.
So I think we're probably safe on that, thanks to the hard work of guys like Senator James Inhofe.
The bad thing is, until we see it,
Yeah, that's right. You never want to count your chickens. Yeah.
We had reports that Romney was going to win this election.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to ever count your chickens. All right, Bill, appreciate it. Let's go to Tim, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Tim, you're on Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, how are you today?
Good.
Good. Listen, about the high-capacity magazines, I think they're trying to ban the wrong ones. If they want to ban a high-capacity magazine that has the ability to do the most damage to a family, they need to do the ones that have the pornography in them, man.
Yeah, that's right. You got the point there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask another quick question while I got you. I think a few weeks ago I heard on one of the network shows that Mississippi and Hattiesburg, they were Planned Parenthood was planning on opening up an actual abortion clinic. Is that true? Can you confirm that? Or
yeah, they're working on that, and I think it's in Hattiesburg.
Okay.
I think it's in Hattiesburg.
I'm from Hattiesburg, so I'm going to start spreading the word to keep the prayers going and see what we can do about that.
Yeah, and of course they're going to have to meet the same standards that the abortion clinic in Jackson had to meet, which is that their doctors have to have admitting privileges in area hospitals, and apparently they've got a doctor on their staff, at least one, who does have admitting privileges, so they think they can crank up an abortion clinic there in Hattiesburg. And so, again, that's a reminder, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. And that's why the importance, I believe, of a personhood amendment. We've got a group that's come together. They're going to try to get a personhood amendment on the ballot in the state of Mississippi that would define personhood from the moment of conceptions, and that would ban abortion completely in the state of Mississippi. You've got personhood bills in other states. North Dakota's looking at it. Kansas looking at it. And that is the way we need to go. And then we don't have to, it's kind of like whack-a-mole. You shut down the abortion clinic in Jackson, and another one pops up in Hattiesburg. All right, listen, I appreciate the call, Tim. Thank you for that. We're going to shift gears. Let me take one more call. Then we're going to shift gears in the next segment. I want to talk about immigration. Get your thoughts on immigration, on Marco Rubio, this amnesty push that he's behind. I've got a soundbite from Bill Moyers. Jeff teased it for you at the top of the hour, where he's saying the Pledge of Allegiance is a lie because we don't have justice for all. I want to break that down for you a little bit and get your reactions to that. But after we come out of the break, I want to take your calls on the immigration issue, what you think about, especially about Marco Rubio and how this affects. Marco Rubio is part of the Amnesty 8. I mean, he's pushing amnesty here, and the Republicans seem to be drifting toward amnesty, toward instant legalization. And I want to get your reaction, how you feel about instant legalization. You've got the Evangelical Immigration Table. This is a group of evangelical leaders, many of whose names you would recognize, and they are pushing for amnesty. They want instant legalization. So I want to get a feel. We seem to have this kind of gang rush toward amnesty. Everybody on our side of the aisle, who are people who are supposed to be on our side of the aisle, rule of law, assimilation, orderly process, all that kind of thing. We seem to be getting trampled here by our own people who are racing to cross the aisle and join with the amnesty crowd. And I want to get your feeling about that, and especially how it affects the way you look at Marco Rubio when it comes to 2016. I've got my own thoughts on that. Let's grab one more call before the bottom of the hour. Let's go to James, Midway Park, North Carolina. James, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Yes, well, first of all, I'm sick of the constant lies and deceit coming out of the White House concerning our Second Amendment and all those other areas of our Bill of Rights. And the thing about it is, what really gets me is they really believe they have a foolproof way of getting people to go around killing children by different shooters and so on. And if the people in Connecticut, Colorado, and other places knew and they had this information, I think they'd send bags of spit to the White House and rip up those those phony, baloney lies as far as gun control, confiscation, and all that they have planned. And with this United Nations treaty, arms treaty that they have, that our own government signed in on. Now, what they're going to do, if our troops don't do it, they're going to send foreign military troops. And you got proof that this country is filled with UN and NATO troops who are willing to go around confiscating and killing American citizens.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, James, and thank you for the call. I appreciate that. You think about all of this being done for the children, and everything is predicated on this Newtown massacre, which was a horrible disaster. Nobody wants to minimize any single part of that. That was 20 children and 6 adults. 26 innocent victims died that day. But you think about the fact that if it's all about the kids, what about the 1.2 million unborn babies that are murdered in the wombs of their mothers, never get a chance to draw their first breath? If we're concerned about kids, we care about kids, we want to do something for the kids, we want to protect the kids, maybe that's the place that we ought to start. Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll be back with your calls on immigration. Stay with us. Focal Point AFR Talk.